The General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Fifi, has raised concerns over reports that some party members are attempting to broker deals with individuals facing possible prosecution by the government. His remarks come amid the NDC's renewed anti-corruption campaign, Operation Recover All Loots, which seeks to prosecute individuals found culpable and recover assets allegedly lost through corruption. Investigations into certain officials from the previous administration are already underway. Speaking at the 5th Annual General Conference of NDC lawyers, Mr. Fifi Kwetey emphasized that the party's credibility and future electoral success depend on its ability to take a firm and principled stance against corruption. He warned that any behind-the-scenes negotiation risk undermining the party's integrity and urged the Attorney General and his team to remain resolute in fulfilling their mandate. Take a listen.
It's to be done, must be done well. And to be done well means it has to be thoroughly done, proper due diligence. The job must be properly done. And you are the lawyers, so you should know. If you say righteousness and justice should be the foundation, it must be. So you cannot in one way be making proclamations that are condemning those who are on the other side, while you yourself are part of the system that wants to subvert the same laws and the same constitution, the same rights taken from them. So you should be the first point of making sure things are done properly. That's the only way we can establish a society that will be truly great and strong. My second is this. And Attorney General, I'm sure the pressure is mounting. We at the level of the party are taking the signals. And the signals we are taking is this. That many among us, is part of the fact that please, and the pressure coming from the public that the things have to be done properly. Punishment must be exacted, and things have to be done. Some among us are busy trying to cut deals with people who are supposed to be prosecuted. Some among us are trying to cut deals. Some are becoming corporates. True, pressure is being brought to bear on people who are supposed to do what is right. I'm not mentioning names. The time will come when we may have to. A word to the wise. Some know themselves. Those who are. We are hearing your names. Think again. Because this victory was achieved largely because the people of Ghana wanted the right things done. Not for deals to be cut. For them to say, okay, now that we are on the other side, we cut deals so that tomorrow you also can get a deal cut. No, it won't happen.
So that's the General Secretary of the ruling National Democratic Congress, Fifi Kwetey there. So that's a very deep revelation that he has given, that some lawyers who are supposed to protect the integrity of the nation currently are in bed with former appointees, therefore prosecuting them as a big challenge for them. That's what the General Secretary Fifi Kwetey is talking about. We getting into the anti-corruption conversation on this particular one. What really does it mean as far as anti-corruption fight is concerned? Because we know that as Operation Recover All Loots, which they went underground, gave the reports to President John Dramani Mahama on what they found so far and what can be done. You know that it has been directed to the Attorney General to deal with that particular matter. But before we go on the phone, let me just bring you on the phone by Chief Crusader of the Crusaders Against Corruption, Mr. Emmanuel Wilson. Mr. Wilson, good evening to you. A pleasure having you on the show.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure too.
Let me have your reaction to the General Secretary, Fifi Kwetey, admitting that some party members are allegedly attempting to broker deals with individuals facing possible prosecution.
Well, first off, I will want to say that his communication is not so clear to me. What kind of deal is he referring to? Is this a deal that will end in a plea bargain, or a deal that is just going to, for lack of words, influence the process so that they will be left to go off the hook? If it is a deal leading to plea bargain, then that is legitimate and legal, and so that is acceptable. But if it is the other way, which has to do with just influencing these individuals so that the case will either be made a foolish case or the case will be dropped, then that becomes a serious thing.
That's what he's talking about.
That's what he's talking about. That is absolutely unacceptable. And I'm hoping and believing that after he made that pronouncement, if indeed he, as the General Secretary, is committed to ensuring that the party wins or the party succeeds in the fight against corruption, he will go further. Even if he's not going to mention names in public, he will go to the appropriate authorities and mention it. Because if he's claiming that there are some lawyers belonging to the NDC who are allowing themselves to be influenced by perceived corrupt persons so that the cases will be dropped and the cases will be made a foolish case, I really expect him to either go to the Special Prosecutor's Office or to IOCO or to even the Attorney General himself. But even if he's not comfortable with any of these ones, we have other anti-corruption institutions like the CID's department or office. He should go there and report them and go further and give, better particulars so that these individuals involved will be caught and they will face the appropriate sanctions. Because, when you aid or you abet, that is also a crime. And that is what we need not entertain. And so, even if the General Secretary willingly deciding not to go, I'm expecting that the anti-corruption institutions would have invited him by now. If by now I come out and I tell you that there are some individuals who are engaging in corrupt practices. Corruption is a crime, remember?
Yeah.
And so it is just like me coming out to say that I know of some individuals who are either planning or they are already engaging in armed robbery. That's exactly what it means. And so if I come out to make this wild allegation, even if I am not willing to go to the appropriate authorities, the authorities should have picked me by now. And that is what I am expecting, that by now the General Secretary should have been invited. If he has not already been invited, he'll be invited, and he should be helping in investigation in this line.
I see. But how damaging are such behind-the-scenes efforts to the credibility of any political party claiming to fight corruption? Because this is a canker we've been dealing with for the past years.
It is extremely damaging. Remember, and I have said this consistently, in the year 2016, the then NDC government led by His Excellency John Mahama lost the general elections largely on perceived corruption. The same way, in this just ended election, 2024, the NPP's abysmal performance is largely and can be attributed to perceived corruption. So matters of corruption is something that is so important and dear to particularly the electorate of this country. And so if you come in, you have the power, and you are not fighting it the way we are all expecting it, you should know that it is going to affect your political fortune so seriously. And aside the political fortune that is going to be affected, it is also affecting Ghana as a country. Our taxpayers' money is going into the drain, and no one is doing anything about it. We elected a new government to come in and ensure that the right things are done as far as fighting corruption is concerned. And as I'm telling you, or as I speak to you right now, we are getting information even coming from a General Secretary of the ruling government telling us that this is what is happening. I think that he should depict and he should help in investigations. This is one way by which we fight corruption. The other thing that we should also appreciate is that 8 months on into this administration, the perceived fight against corruption is becoming weaker and weaker. The average person is beginning to feel that, well, we had so much hope in the current government to fight corruption, but it looks like he is not doing the way we expect him to do to fight the corruption as we expected. I have said that I will not be surprised that the next CPI that will come out, that is the Corruption Perception Index that will come out, Ghana ranking will reduce, or it will become a bit weaker compared to the previous ones. Because the truth is, if we are following keenly the fight against corruption, especially in this 8 months, it is becoming so strong and clear that the perception as to the government fighting corruption as we expect it to fight, that perception is becoming weaker and weaker. And Ghanaians are not, they're kind of losing hope as far as the fight against corruption is concerned. Not to talk of what has come out now. This really confirms what I have been saying, that the perception is becoming weaker and weaker.
I see. So the NDC launched Operation Recover All Loot as part of its anti-corruption campaign. From your perspective, how effective can such an initiative be, especially if there are internal efforts to sabotage that?
Unfortunately, the order that was established doesn't have any legal backing. And so it was more like an ad hoc committee to put together perceived corruption and corruption-related matters and submit them to the Attorney General for proper prosecution to be done. And so oral, as far as we are concerned, have done their work. And actually, it created a good perception that, yes, the government is committed to the fight against corruption. But the truth is, after oral did its work, Ghanaians are expecting the next stage. And the next stage is to see prosecution, successful prosecution taking place, whether through a plea bargain or passing through the legal process. We are expecting an outcome. But at the end of the day, it looks like that which oral did has come to a standstill. It looks like we are not getting returns or expected results from it. And that is why I have said so many times that when it comes to the fight against corruption, it is time for us to amend the Constitution so that individuals will be given prosecutorial power when it comes to the fight against corruption. In other words, we should commercialize the fight against corruption so that some of these corrupt practices and corruption-related matters will not always end up at the footsteps of the Attorney General, because the Attorney General is a political appointed person. If at the end of the day, there are some corrupt cases that are being prosecuted by crusaders against corruption, what relationship do we have with politicians to the extent that individuals involved will be using politicians who are lawyers to come and influence crusaders? But because the Attorney General, who has the prosecutorial duty or solely has the prosecutorial duty, is a political appointee, he will surely be influenced by his colleague politicians. And that is what is happening. And we are not surprised that this is happening. What we were expecting to have happened, as I said earlier, is probably a plea bargain, which we support because it's part of the legal processes. So plea bargain is acceptable. But when you try to influence the process so that the case will become a dead case, that's one, it is unacceptable. And that's why I'm saying that it is important for the one who did the allegation, in this case we are making reference to the General Secretary of the NDC, to be invited to help with investigation so that we can identify those individuals involved.
Mr. Wilson, I'm grateful for your time this evening.